Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with another video, and hopefully you heard, right, that there's this KOTOR remake thing going on. Hopefully you've heard about it. I am super stoked. Yesterday, we learned that developer Aspyr is going to be creating a Knights of the Old Republic remake, not a remaster. It is from the ground up with the newest technologies, graphics, a remake of Knights of the Old Republic. Now, unfortunately, the game is in early development. We got a little teaser trailer, but that's about all we got, and that's probably all we're going to get for quite some time. But it's never too early to speculate, am I right? Now, that's all we're going to do today, is we're just going to do some speculation, just talk about kind of what we expect from the new Knights of the Old Republic remake. This is all speculation. I don't have a crystal ball. I have no inside sources with Aspyr, so this is just going to be some guesses, just a little bit of a conversation starter about the new game to see kind of what everyone thinks. So today, what I want to do is I want to talk about some of the things that we believe are going to change in the Knights of the Old Republic remake from the old game, for better or for worse, to some people's opinions, depending on how much you love or dislike some of the old aspects of the game and how open to change you are. Now, before we get started, I do want to remind you that if you do enjoy this content, if you enjoy Knights of the Republic, or just like, I don't know, Star Wars video games, anything like that, you know, video games are cool. Drop a like on this video. It helps other people find it, you know, YouTube algorithm and stuff. And hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I do stream every once in a while, and I try to put up content on the channel, with some regularity, I guess, kind of. Hit the bell so you get notified whenever I do happen to put content up or whenever I go live. Also, make sure to hit the comment section down below for anything I talk about or anything I leave out. What are your thoughts? What are you apprehensive about? What are you excited about? What do you want to see? What do you not want to see? Just let everyone know. Seriously, let's just nerd out about this, guys. I mean, we've been waiting for this for a decade. Let's just nerd out about it in the comments. That's why we're here. We're so excited. Let's just chat about it. But without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's start with let's just start talking about the game. What do you say? All right, let's go ahead. Let's tackle the big one, the one that is on everybody's mind right now. Probably what I would consider to be the most divisive topic about a KOTOR remake, and that is going to be the combat style and the combat mechanics used in the game. Now, I don't think anyone will argue. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I will say the Knights of the Old Republic style of combat for a standard RPG that is not like a top-down Baldur's Gate Divinity Original Sin style game is pretty antiquated. Again, not to say it's bad, but I would say that is one of the things that is more likely to see some change in the Knights of the Old Republic remake. Now, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments below on what you think are going to be the changes or lack thereof to the combat system in the Knights of the Old Republic remake. But today, I'm just going to go through some different styles of combat that are used in different RPGs, starting from the least likely that I think we will see in the remake to what I consider to be the most likely. Again, this is all speculation. I could be completely off by this. So we're just going to chat about some different combat styles. All right, first one up, and this is, again, least likely. I would say we don't need to talk about this one very much, and that is going to be the Bethesda style of combat, which you're going to see, you know, in your Fallout 4 and your Skyrim, your ones that are very just hack and slash. Now, don't get me wrong. Love Skyrim, love Fallout, but, and the combat style works very well for those games, but that's not what we sign up for when we play KOTOR. That's not what anyone's looking for when they play KOTOR or when they're looking at a KOTOR remake. It's just, you would turn this strategic game into just a hack and slash. I don't think that anyone really is looking for that or wants that, and I don't think the developers of at Aspyr would do that. So I would say we don't probably need to talk about that one anymore. I would say anything from like Bethesda, anything from Fallout or Skyrim, I would say it's probably not going to happen, but let's just go ahead and mention it. Just get it out there right now. All right, everything else we're going to mention, I'm going to say is kind of plausible. Still, the next one I'm going to say is very unlikely, would be like a Mass Effect style cover shooter type of combat. Now, I'm more specifically talking about Mass Effect Andromeda, because Mass Effect Andromeda actually introduces the use of melee weapons, which you don't even get in Mass Effects 1 and 2. And in Mass Effect 3, you only get the Omni Blade, which is very, you know, limited in its amount of combat and things you can do with it. Now, that's not saying a whole lot about Mass Effect Andromeda, though, because whenever you get a melee weapon, you really only get like one animation, which, let's be honest, for a Star Wars game, when we get a lightsaber, we want to do really cool shit with it. We don't want to have one single animation. So if there were to be something with the Mass Effect Andromeda style of combat, there would definitely need to be a little bit of work put into it as to how you would function with lightsaber combat and how that would change whenever you go to blaster combat. I do think that Mass Effect style of cover shooter would be an interesting take on the blaster side of KOTOR, as long as they can find some really nice way to balance in the lightsaber combat. I think they could do some probably pretty cool things with that. I just think that is such a break from what we are used to from a KOTOR game. And I mean, it works very well with other BioWare games. I just think it would be such a change, such a radical change from what we are used to. Even if it could be plausible, it takes something that is kind of D20 based, somewhat turn based, and turns into something that is very active, very skill based. So even though potentially they could make it work, I'm still going to say a Mass Effect Andromeda style of combat cover shooter, probably very unlikely as well. All right, let's talk about the next one. I'm going to give this one like a 40% chance of happening. I'm going to say it's unlikely. It could happen, and let's just keep the old way. I mean, literally same action wheels, same everything, just into a much more higher definition, much sleeker, much nicer looking format. They could do it, and I wouldn't be mad. I am looking forward to seeing new things, a little bit of a fresh take on Knights of the Old Republic, but I would not be disappointed if I got the same style of combat. I do really enjoy that style of combat, so I would not turn up my nose at it. However, it's not exactly what I'm looking for. I could get on board with it. I think that's probably still kind of unlikely, but I would say it's definitely plausible. It is, like I said, a little bit antiquated though. Next one up, and I'm going to say this is like, I don't know, maybe 45%, 50%. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this one if they did go about it. And that's like the Dragon Age 2 to Dragon Age 3 kind of combat mechanics, where you've got, it reminds me, the problem with it for me is it reminds me so much of like an MMO style of combat. And I despise MMOs. That's probably the reason why I don't like MMOs, is for their style of combat where you just hit 1, 1, 1 for your basic attack. Oh, my cooldown's done on my other one. Hit 2, 1, 1, 1. Oh, I got my fourth power back. Hit 3. Like, that to me is just kind of boring. It kind of takes the strategy out, of it. I don't know. I find it boring, but it could work really well, especially if you're thinking of like Dragon Age 2. You do have the pause. You could issue orders to your characters, have them do their thing. The Dragon Age 2 style of combat could work. However, Dragon Age 2, again, is kind of antiquated. I don't know. It would leave me wanting more. I think if I saw a Dragon Age 2 style of combat, I would prefer just keep the old way. So I think that one could work, and it could work well. It, for me, would be personally not very satisfying. All right, and let's now talk about the one that I think is probably most likely to happen. That is going to be the Final Fantasy VII Remake style of combat. I don't know. I am in love with the Final Fantasy VII Remake style of combat. And even though I haven't finished the game as of recording this, I still haven't completed the Let's Play. We should probably do that sometime, huh? I really like that style of combat. It is still got that hack and slash kind of element. It is real time. It is not, queue up some actions, let the characters do their thing. It is still real time, but there are different strategy elements, the active, like kind of pausing, queuing up commands, filling up your action bar to use your abilities, stuff like that. I do really like, and I think could work really well with Knights of the Old Republic. I also think, one thing that I also have to think about, and it's really important to think about whenever you're thinking of different styles of combat, is how are lightsaber users and ranged weapon users going to interact? Because here's the thing. If you think about other, like, Star Wars is kind of special in that, lightsaber against ranged weapon users, you can reflect blaster bolts, you can deflect them, or you could get hit by them. Whereas if you're playing like, a medieval or a fantasy RPG, there's no reflecting arrows that are getting shot at you. You're taking the arrows or they miss you, right? You don't have that extra deflection piece that you have to worry about. And that's Bethesda. That's one reason the Bethesda thing not going to work. The Mass Effect Andromeda thing could potentially work. The OG style obviously works very well for that. Tried and true. We have seen it work. And the Dragon Age 2 and 3 style, I think, could work kind of in the same way. It would be very similar to the OG style, where it's just like they shoot at you. Some math goes on in the background. If it's if you roll a nat 20, you reflect it, etc., etc. I think the Final Fantasy VII Remake could still work. Whenever Cloud uses blocks with his Buster Sword, he continues to take damage, which I would be okay with. What you could do is you could still have some sort of math going on in the background whenever you hold like the block button, to where, again, if you roll, a critical fail, you get hit, you continue to take damage. If you're rolling decently well, then you deflect it. If you roll, above a certain difficulty class, then you end up reflecting it back at them. I think that could work really well. It could look beautiful, and I just feel like that would be really nice. I think there are a lot of really great things about how the Final Fantasy VII style of combat works that I think would play really well into KOTOR. For me, I think that one's the most likely. The two out of all of these that I have suggested I would pick would be either just the original style or Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm not really sold on any of the others I mentioned being what we see. Let me know down in the comments, can you think of any other styles of combat in RPGs that I've left out that you think are, one, plausible, even if you don't like it, plausible, and then two, what would you most like to see? I'm very interested to get your guys' opinion on that. All right, while we're talking combats, this is a little bit of an aside. Let's not talk about the combat style. Let's talk about additions to the game. What do we need in the game that wasn't in the original? One, what was added in Knights of the Old Republic 2, lightsaber and force forms. Holy God, please give me lightsaber and force forms. We gotta have it. It was so huge, but here's the thing. I need it to play a bigger role in Knights of the Old Republic Remake than it did in Knights of the Old Republic 2. In Knights of the Old Republic 2, you can get a little bit of an edge by manipulating your lightsaber or force form, but on the whole, I don't know. I feel like, at least personally, I set mine to one thing. Usually I just leave it at Shicho. And that's it for the rest of the game. I don't ever mess with it. It really doesn't impact my gameplay at all. And I would really like to see, one, that it affect the way, like your actual motions in combat, the way you deflect, the way you strike, all of those things. I think those are little intricate pieces that would be very nice to see. Also, the way that you functionally can fight. For example, in Final Fantasy VII, if you're using a certain style of combat, you can't block anymore because you are in like that offensive style of combat. Stuff like that I think would be really cool. Again, that's why I kind of go back to why the Final Fantasy VII Remake style of combat could work very well. So lightsaber, force forms, they gotta be in here. That would be epic. If those are not in there, I think that is a huge missed opportunity for Aspire. The only other thing that I would really like to see in the new KOTOR remake, that this is getting nitpicky, and this is something that is not by any means a deal breaker, more fighting styles and animations is what I want to see, because we play KOTOR and we see the same animations over and over and over and over. It goes back to the force and lightsaber forms. I just want to see, it doesn't have to be major. Just, it can even be subtle, just a little bit of a change to know that the choices that I'm making in lightsaber form, force form, if there's like a power attack, a quick attack, a heavy attack, a light attack, anything like that, just to see a little bit of a change, a quick strike versus a big slash, anything like that, kind of like what we had in the Star Wars Episode 3 back on PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Something like that I think would be great, just to add, again, it wouldn't add much in terms of gameplay, but just that aesthetic would be phenomenal. So that is something that I would really love to see with the combat as well. I think that's all I've really got for combat specifically. Guys, let me know down in the comments, what do you think? What additions or, not additions would you like to see to combat in the Knights of the Old Republic remake? All right, the next thing up that I want to talk about is something that I think maybe a lot of people haven't thought about, and that's dialogue. In Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, your dialogue is a long list of choices, which, don't get me wrong, again, it's something I don't dislike. I really do like that. But again, kind of antiquated. It lowers your resolution. It restricts your viewing window, and it takes up a lot of space. And that is something that you really don't see happen as much anymore in RPGs. Now, here's the thing. I honestly can't think of a great way to implement the intricate level of conversation that there is in KOTOR without keeping it the way that it was. Really, I can only think of a couple of ways that conversation has been held in RPGs differently from it being done in KOTOR. One is the Skyrim style, where you have the floating, it's very clean looking, like you have a floating style of menu of options, very much like in KOTOR, where it doesn't take up your entire screen. It's kind of transparent. That I would be okay with, and I would actually probably like that a little bit better. I like being able to see your full screen whenever you're interacting with someone. So that I would be okay with. Your other options are kind of what I think of. You have like Fallout 4 and the BioWare style, where you have like a wheel of options and choices. And here is my concern about going down that path when it comes to dialogue. When you have something like a wheel, like in Mass Effect or like in Fallout, you are very constrained on the number of things you can do. Yeah, you can hit, in Mass Effect, you can hit investigate, and then you can hit, a couple of options, or you can hit more, but there's a lot of hitting more that's potentially possible from KOTOR because there were so many different dialogue packs. I'm thinking exclusively, obviously this is KOTOR 2. When you're talking with Kreia, there is a lot that you can talk about and a lot of trees that you could go down and more go back. Like that could get carried away really quick. So that's one concern I have. The other concern I have is when you play Mass Effect, and kind of Fallout to an extent, really you have three choices when you're in dialogue. You have the neutral option, you have the good guy option, and you have the bad guy option. KOTOR, though, is so much more than that. When you go to make a dialogue decision in KOTOR, you don't just have the good, the neutral, and the bad options. You have the neutral option, you have the good option, you have like the uber goody two shoes option, you have the bad option, and then you have like the pure straight up evil option. And it's not, this is again, me being picky, but it really does make a difference when you're role playing your character in that, you could say, so for example, I'm thinking again, KOTOR 2 is my favorite. So I'm gonna use a lot of examples from KOTOR 2. You could break into someone's apartment, say on Telos Citadel Station, and you go in there. There is the option, hey, I'm gonna rob you. And he says, okay, take my stuff, just leave, don't hurt me. And you take his stuff and you leave. That's like the bad choice, right? You could say, okay, I'm gonna steal your stuff. He's like, okay, fine, just don't hurt me. And you're like, nah, you know what? Gonna kill you too. That's like you went bad and you're just like, no, now I'm gonna be evil. But usually you also have this choice where he's like, why are you in here? And you're just like, I'm here to kill you. Like you jump the bad step and you go straight to evil. And honestly, for me, there's a difference. There's a difference between going bad to evil and just going straight to evil that says more about your character. And I'm afraid that if they went down that path of having like a wheel and you pick the bad option, which would be to steal someone's money, and then they give you the option to either go neutral and end the conversation or evil, that's not the same. That's not the same as when you talk to someone and they're like, why are you in my room? And you just say, I'm here to kill you. Like jumping straight to that evil option just really sets the tone for your player character in a different way than if you were to pick the bad option and then pick the evil option. So do I think it's doable? Yes. Do I think it would be a major loss for the game? No. Would I be slightly disappointed in that being how I would play? A little bit. I do think it would restrict you. So personally for me, do I think it would happen? I think it's entirely probable that we get some sort of a dialogue option like we see with other BioWare games. I'm hoping we don't. I think that will restrict our play style and what we can do. And I'm really hoping for either just the original style or a Skyrim style of interface where it's kind of transparent and we can still make all of those choices. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Do you share my concerns? Do you think it'll be okay? Just let me know what you guys think. As I was editing this video, another thought came to me that kind of concerned me, or not necessarily concerned me, it was something that I thought about with regard to dialogue, and that is going to be a spoken protagonist. That is something that KOTOR did not have, and something that a lot of RPGs back in the day didn't have, but is becoming more and more prevalent, is having a spoken character or a spoken protagonist. I mean, then you just have to worry about who is going to be the voice actor for the player character, or voice actors, because you will need obviously multiple voice actors. And if they went down multiple races, which we'll talk about in a little while, you would need several voice actors potentially to do the player character. But then you have to worry about, again, that becomes very expensive because then not only do you have a whole nother actor that you have to pay to be doing the dialogue, but with as much dialogue as there is in KOTOR, that's a lot of money that you're potentially having to pay a whole nother person. So if there's a spoken player character, a spoken protagonist, that almost leans more to the idea of having like a wheel for your dialogue, because then it kind of restricts your dialogue options and, is a way to cut costs. But then at the end of the day, we are losing potentially lore, and I don't know. That is something that I don't know how to feel about it. On one hand, I would love to have a spoken protagonist. I know that's actually a really divisive opinion. A lot of people don't want spoken protagonists. They want to just have a vision in their head of what the protagonist sounds like. I personally like a well done spoken protagonist. But on the other hand, I definitely don't want to see like a corner cut where they get rid of lore, they get rid of dialogue in order to save money so they can have a spoken protagonist. So guys, let me know what your thoughts are on that as well. While we're on the subject of dialogue, let's talk about character influence, right? I mean, that was a huge part of Knights of the Old Republic 2. Having influence was huge because it opened up different conversations that you could have with characters. It impacted your relationship with them, which in turn either inflated or deflated their light side or dark side points, impacting their stats. Like a lot of things hinged around your influence, including if you can change their class. Like there were a lot of things that hinged on influence that I think that would be another huge missed opportunity if that were not added into the KOTOR remake. I mean, yeah, if you play with Karth enough and he follows you around, he's going to open up and share you his life story. Is that really going to happen in like real life? Probably not. Like Karth's going to need a reason to trust you to like invest and tell you like his sob story about Saul Kareth and stuff like that. So I think it would make a lot of sense in terms of how some of those interactions with the characters work. I think it would open up some really nice opportunities to make decisions with those characters, develop bonds, maybe expand. It would give Aspire perhaps a chance to expand on character backgrounds, give them more dialogue, more background, learn more about Mission's brother, learn, stuff like that. I think that would be really interesting. So I think influence is going to be huge, and I really hope we see it in Knights of the Old Republic remake. All right, the next thing, I need to know if I'm alone here on this, right? The first time I played Knights of the Old Republic, which is the same way as like every time I play an RPG, I was, of course, right, light side goody two shoes, right? Surely I'm not the only person that always plays like that, at least on their first try. So I was on Korriban, and minor spoilers for Knights of the Old Republic 1. If you don't want to see this, just skip to the next section in the video. I use the chapters below. Whenever you go there, you meet, Master Uthar, you meet Euthura, and you kind of have to pick a side, or you can pick your own side on who you're going to support in this power struggle. And if you are light side, you can kind of redeem Euthura. And I tried so hard, Googled for hours, just trying to find a way. Is there a way to recruit Euthura to join your team? Is there a way to turn her to the light side? Is there a way to get her on the Ebon Hawk? And unfortunately, there is not. And I think that is a huge opportunity for Aspire to add some of those interactions. Like, you don't have to just stick to the original companions. You can add new companions to the game that are optional, that may or may not be picked up based on the choices you make. If you kill Master Uthar and your dark side and Euthura has the option to take over the academy, it's not likely she's going to want to join you, but maybe you kill her and you tell her like, I'm going to kill you or you join me. She'll join you. You redeem her, and then she wants to join you on your quest. There are opportunities for select characters that I think it would make sense, and I think that would be something that would be kind of fun. It would change up the narrative, allow them to, again, build backstory and characters that don't necessarily have a backstory without changing the fundamental aspects of the game, give you more characters to play with, a wider class of characters, fighting styles, strategy, and I think that would be really cool. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Do you want to see more companions? Do you want to see recruitable companions? And if so, what companions would you like to see recruitable? Let me know down in the comments. All right, the next one, you agree with me. This one's non-negotiable. Justice for HK47, guys. It is a travesty. It is an absolute travesty what they did to our boy HK in Knights of the Old Republic 1. They made him better in Knights of the Old Republic 2. We need HK to blast the meatbags, okay? Give him combat feats. No strength if we're still doing D20 stuff. Make our boy HK great again. That's all I have to say about that. We've got to have some redemption for HK. He's got to live up to the name of Meatbag Slayer. Sorry, it's got to happen. All right, the next couple of things I want to talk about are regarding customization. And the first one I want to talk about is the character creator. Now, the bar for character creators has risen dramatically ever since KOTOR 1 and 2 came out. In KOTOR 1 and 2, you could pick whether you're a guy or a girl and change the head of your character, and that's really it. For KOTOR Remake, the bar is going to be so much higher because we have very high expectations for what our character creator is going to be like. I would say at the bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum, we need to see something along the lines of maybe like a Fallout 4 style character creator. You can change the physicality, the height of your character, hairstyles, hair color, tattoos, scars, things like that. That all has to be in there. Like that's just very baseline. Like that's just kind of the norm. That's the standard in a character creator in an RPG nowadays. What I would love to see, and I might get some pushback on this, is like maybe a Dragon Age Inquisition style of character creator where who says your player character has to be a human, huh? Why is that? And I am saying player character, no spoilers in this on that, but your player character, why does he have to be a human? We know canonically that the player character is a human male, but that's only because they decided until it was decided, like until Disney or EA or whoever, BioWare, whoever decided that the player character was going to canonically be a human male. Why did that have to be the case up until that point? Your player character was who you picked them to be. They were light side, they were dark side, they were male, they were female, they were, a sentinel, they were a soldier, they were whatever you made them be. So why is it? Why does it change the story if you change what their race is? I think that would be a great opportunity. I know a lot of people are looking for a Star Wars game where you can customize to that level of race. Maybe that changes your gameplay interactions with like Zalbar, with mission. Maybe that changes things, which wouldn't be bad. Again, it would be a deviation from the original game, but in my opinion, not a bad one. And if you think it's a bad deviation, play as a human and it plays the same way. I think that would be a great level of detail to add not only a really diverse character creator, but also a change in race. I think would be massive. Do I think it will happen? Unlikely. I do not think it will happen, but I would absolutely love it if it did, if it added the race option. What I think we're going to get realistically is just a deeper in-depth character creator where you get to do that Fallout 4 level of customization to your character. I don't anticipate an alien one. Let me know down in the comments what you think on that. Would you like to see that? Or do you think, no, human, that's what the player character is and that's what they need to stay as? Let me know. Next thing, gotta bring to KOTOR 1, weapon and armor customization. Yeah, I know you can throw like a vibration cell on a special vibro sword in Knights of the Republic 1 and it like gets an ability, but like it's fixed per weapon. It's not fixed per upgrade. So really twofold things. One, a wide variety of upgrades, kind of like we got in KOTOR 2, but potentially more. Add effects to your weapons. And not only just like status effects, like it's stuns, but also visual effects. If you add something that deals electric damage, give us a little bit of a graphic for what that is doing to the weapon. Let us see visually. Let's really take advantage of these great graphics, Aspire, that you're going to be giving us. And so one, just give us a wide variety of things that we can do to weapons. A nice visual, maybe a visual effect on when you attack someone with that weapon, what it does to the victim. That would be really cool. Same thing with armor. I want that level of customization, but something else that I want is not necessarily just the usable aspect of it, but I want the aesthetic aspect to also be customizable. Let me, we know from Knights of the Old Republic 1, there are blue Jedi robes, there are the red Jedi robes, there are the brown Jedi robes. Like obviously there are different colors of robes. Allow us to have some customization on what our clothing looks like. That would be really cool. What our weapons look like when if we put a scope on our, Sith sniper rifle, let us see that scope. Let us see the appearance of the weapons change. And the big one, let us customize not only the parts inside our lightsaber, but what our lightsaber looks like. That's asking for a lot. That's a very small detail, would require a lot of work, gives us fundamentally very little in the game, but it just adds so much to a role-playing aspect. If you can change the style of your hilt, if you can just change all that stuff, that would be so cool. There are mods that do that for KOTOR 2, and it's not a big deal. It's not huge, but it's the little things that take a game from being cool to being great. So that level of customization, I think, would be phenomenal, and I would love to see. Let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree. All right, the last thing that I'm really hoping for, and this is, again, a very divisive topic, I think hopefully people would welcome this. something that we could get with KOTOR Remake, assuming that it is popular. You know, it could end up being like Mass Effect Andromeda and not being popular, but assuming that it's a hit, like we're all hoping it will be, downloadable content. With Mass Effect Andromeda, it was such a flop and the reception was so poor that they quit. They gave up on it. No downloadable content, no additional stories or missions. But guys, with this remake, there is now the opportunity to build on the stories that are happening in Knights of the Old Republic and give us things like a Fall of Revan story. Like, let us play through the Fall of Revan. Let us play through maybe Karth's background, maybe someone else that's in the, maybe help like Zalbar, like his escape from Kashyyyk and his fight against his brother. Like, there are a lot of stories that are happening in KOTOR that we hear about, we don't get to experience. And I think downloadable content would give us, you know, 20, 30 hour, maybe more if it's, I don't know what the downloadable content would be like, but some really great stories that we would get to experience instead of just hearing about. I would be so excited for. And I think that's something that time will tell if we end up getting that, depending on how successful the game is, what the reception is. I think that's something we could definitely see. And I think that would be super cool. Let me know. I know a lot of people really hate the idea of downloadable content, but I think that it would be a golden opportunity to give us more content of the Knights of the Old Republic that we love. All right, guys, like I told you in the video, at the beginning of the video, this was all speculation. I have no contacts at Aspire. I have no insider info. This is just me wanting to nerd out about the game, share my thoughts, my expectations, and I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down in the comments below. Tell me what you think is going to happen. Are you excited for this game? What are you expecting to happen and to not happen with this game? Please let me know. I think we can just all agree. I think, well, I guess not all of us, but most of us can agree. We're all very excited for this game. Guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Again, if you did, please drop a like. It makes me feel good to know that you guys are enjoying some of my content. Hit subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notifications for any new videos and live streams. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Get down to the B-side.